Hi, everybody. It's Marianne. I had on my heart a topic today that a lot of my clients, like across the board, they say is their most favorite thing that they get out of coaching. And that is connecting to their real them and their true voice and their true self and having the courage to stand in that truth. Hi, Melissa. So good to see you. So, what does that mean though, to like be the real you and show up as the real you? Authentic is a word that's thrown around a lot these days, and I think a lot of people don't really understand what authentic means. So, I'm going to give some examples. So, a lot of people in different settings feel like they can't be their real self and can't speak their truth. So, for example, okay, let's say you're at a social setting like a party, and you're having a really good time, and you're having you're feeling good energy, you're feeling expansive, you're feeling connected, and you're showing up in the way that you want to, okay? And then somebody tells you that, I don't know, you've had food in your teeth the whole time, or you have this big mustard stain on your shirt, or like your dress has been tucked into your underwear and you're flashing your ass to everybody the whole time you've been there, which could be why everybody's responding so favorably, right? But okay, so here's the difference. If you have learned radical self-acceptance in a coaching program like mine, or just done your own work, if you've learned radical self-acceptance, someone can inform you of that and you'll just laugh it off and be like, oh, and then just move on in the same energy that you were in before and not give it another thought, because you've radically accepted yourself and you give yourself so much self-compassion. As opposed to a lot of times people will be up in their head about it, and they will be playing over in their head every single interaction that they had up until that point, thinking about what did that person think of me when they saw the huge mustard stain or the food in my teeth, right? And you're like spinning out in mind drama of the kind of impression that you actually made instead of the impression you thought you were making. And then your energy goes way, way down. You can't show up anymore, or you feel like you can't show up anymore, and you just kind of want to shrink and then just kind of leave. That's the difference, okay? Speaking your truth is, something's really bothering you in your relationship, and you want to speak up about it, but you know that this particular topic is a trigger for your spouse or your partner, right? And so not showing up in your truth is just avoiding the topic and avoiding the confrontation, because really the belief is you believe that you can't handle the emotions that will come up when someone is reacting to you in a strong way and trying to blame you and guilt you and shame you for bringing up something that's a trigger for them. You feel like you can't handle those feelings because you haven't been taught how to handle those feelings, right? And you take responsibility. You, in your mind, have been trained to take responsibility for other people's reactions to you and other people's feelings and reactions to the things that you say and who you authentically are. Okay? So if you learn radical self-acceptance and you learn how to stand in your truth, then you allow that person to have their trigger, to have their unhealed trauma come out as a reaction of something that you authentically feel is important to talk about in the relationship, because there's some kind of emotional disconnect or some disrespect like that you feel is really important to talk about. Hi, Maria. And when you also, I see this a lot in couples, is one spouse will not tell the other one something because they're protecting them. You ever heard that one before? I was protecting you because I knew you would have a really negative reaction and it would make you feel miserable, or it would make you feel bad about yourself, or whatever. That's you taking responsibility for the other person's feelings, and no one's feelings are ever your responsibility. Your feelings are your responsibility. Hi, Rachel. What's another example? Let's see. Showing up. People pleasing is another thing that a lot of my clients just express so much relief from being freed from. So a lot of times people are in social settings with friends, and there's a topic, maybe politics or religion, those touchy topics, right? And there's an opinion expressed, and you disagree with the opinion. And in order to people please, because you really want this person to like you, you just agree with their opinion, even though you don't authentically share that opinion. You sort of do a little micro lie, and it seems like it's not that big of a deal in the minute that you're doing it. You're like, oh, I'm just, making this person more comfortable around me, and I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable, right? And so you don't respectfully disagree or just say, oh, I don't share that perspective, or you don't say it. Well, every time you do that, you're betraying yourself. You're really doing this little micro betrayal, and enough of those really erodes your self-trust in a lot of the same ways that not keeping your promises to yourself and keeping your commitments to yourself erodes your self-trust too. So, and then instead of having a good relationship with the people, it hurts later when you are authentic to yourself, but it's so scary too. Okay, good. I'm so glad that you brought that up, Maria. So our brains are programmed when we're children to avoid any kind of interaction that looks vulnerable, that seems like it will be vulnerable, that we anticipate what is vulnerability is a potential emotional injury, right? A potential emotional harm. That's all vulnerability is. It's potential. Not necessarily that it will happen. I mean, if you're interacting with the same person over and over and there's a pattern, it's pretty predictable. But being vulnerable is exposing yourself to a potential emotional harm, right? And when we're kids, and this comes from, our brain training when we're kids, if we're criticized a lot or if we're, rejected for who we authentically are as children, then we're taught to, in order to achieve closeness again with our caretaker, because again, as a child, if you are not achieving closeness with your caretaker, to the brain, that means death. Literally, it means you are not going to get your needs met and you're going to die, right? So you, as an effort to ensure your survival, your brain tells you to push away those parts of yourself that your caretaker is pushing away to, so that you can achieve closeness again with your caretaker and ensure you're going to get your needs met and you're going to not die. Okay, so we carry that into adulthood, all these wounded children, and we're all walking around with wounded children. I always want to know why others come to the conclusions they do or why they believe what they do. Yeah. And Rachel, I'm the same way. My whole life I've been like obsessed with, why do people do the things that they do? Why did I do that? And I achieved a lot of clarity and I had a really interesting, studious life when I was trying to figure out why other people were doing the things that they were doing. But I really got a lot of clarity when I figured out why I was doing the things that I was doing unconsciously. And when I was able to heal those things, I was able to show up the way I want to show up. I was able to radically accept all those parts of me that I had been rejecting and thinking that if I show this part of me to this person, they're going to reject me. And I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And that's not the truth. When we get rejected, we deal with disappointment, we deal with betrayal sometimes, but we don't die. And if we expose ourselves enough to these vulnerable situations, we have 20 seconds of courage every time we speak our truth, right? 20 seconds of courage every time we just radically accept ourselves and have the discipline to keep mindfulness around our neurotic thoughts. We achieve a level of freedom and emotional intelligence and emotional resiliency that allows us to show up and not be so aware of everything about ourselves and be in a social situation where we're giving all of our attention to the person in front of us. And it's not because we're trying to do it. It's not because we're trying to be disciplined. Oh yeah, focus on the person in front of you. Focus on that person. Don't think about yourself. Don't think about yourself. It's not something you even have to discipline yourself about anymore. It just happens naturally. You're naturally so over yourself and your own mind drama that you really are interested in the other person in front of you. And if if your heel breaks off your shoe, it's like, big deal. You roll with it. You just go with it. And that comes from that radical self-love, that radical self-acceptance that is really not that common these days in our society. But what's so cool about it is when you learn it yourself and you learn the reasons why you do the things that you do and you heal them and then you show up in vulnerability, it gives everybody in your space permission to show up as their real selves too. Permission to show up vulnerably too. And vulnerability lends to real connection, real empathetic connection toward, between people. So just wanted to share that. I'm super duper passionate about that. And I'm positive that I can get results for my clients, because I do consistently every time they learn and to connect to their true self. They learn how to get out of their mind chatter, ask their heart what is their truth, and then have the courage to stand in that truth. And over time of practicing that courage and honoring their truth in their actions, they learn that self-trust again, and they learn that they're going to be okay and they're not going to die if they show people who they really are. And then they don't have to be worried about, okay, which mask am I going to wear in this social situation, and who am I going to be in this social situation, and who am I going to be with my spouse, and who am I going to be with my kids. You can just be consistently you, the real you, and get out of your mind drama chatter and show up for other people and really have connection and show people that not only are you accepting yourself in this moment, and in doing that, you're just emitting this beautiful light and energy that's so attractive, but you're also, that's a cue to them. Hey, I'm accepting you too. And, if you flub your words, or if your underwear's tucked in your skirt, I don't care. I support you 100%, and I'm not going to judge you. That is the most safe and comfortable kind of relationship, and everybody really wants that kind of a relationship. They just don't have a model for it, so it's hard to even visualize that for themselves. So, Rachel, we spend so much time trying to be someone that we can't even allow ourselves to be authentic. Yeah, that's so true. I gotta put that. That's so true. And I did that too, you guys. I made all the mistakes trying to be somebody that I thought everybody wanted me to be. I came off as really snobby because I thought all eyes are on me. I gotta be the cutest girl in the room and make everybody else totally envious they're not me. I spent way too much mental energy trying to make other people wish that they were me. That is so mean. I was such a mean girl. But you know what? I forgive myself. I accept that that's who I was at that time, given the experience that I had had up until then, and that there was no other person I could have been at that time. And that's who I was. And now I'm not. So, and it's funny sometimes to, look back. You really done your work when you can look back at the person you were, and it's just so potentially embarrassing seeing the perspective that you see now that you didn't have then. And you can just, want to hide and think of the ways you embarrassed yourself. Or you can just laugh. You just laugh. I was just who I was. So anyway, just wanted, Rachel, you've been that girl too. I think, everybody goes through that. And I, as a parent, I always go back to this. I really would love it if I could teach my girls not to betray themselves and not to lose their real selves, lose who they are along their lifetime. But, there's so much power in losing who you are and then coming back to who you are and making that journey yourself and living two lives almost. I feel like I lived a whole lifetime, and now I'm living a different lifetime, but it's the same body, sort of. I'm not a child body, but anyway, which is a trip, right? You remember looking in the mirror when you were a kid and you saw yourself, you look like a kid, but now you don't look. Anyways, that's a whole other topic. Tangent, sorry. But making that journey from, betraying yourself and losing your true self, but then making the journey back and finding her again is so wonderful and powerful, because you can turn around and pull others along with you and help other people along that journey to finding their true self and remembering who they were before the world told them who to be. Maria, you were a great example to me of speaking your truth and being brave and standing up for yourself. I love that. So, love you too. I'm trying to remember if there's any other scenarios that I wanted to talk about this. So, if you know anybody that would benefit from this video, if you know somebody who's really self-conscious or really self-critical or a perfectionist, and they're just don't feel expansive in any kind of relationship situation because they're trying to be who they think the other person wants them to be instead of just being who they are, which I think we can think of so many people that we know that are showing up in their lives that way. Send them my way. We can do a consult, see if coaching would be a good fit for them. I would love, love, love to help them. I know I can help them. I've been getting results for clients for a long time now, and it's just my favorite thing. Like, I love, love helping women find themselves again. And yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. So everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.